Hyundai presents #Be the Better Guy, partnered by Network 18.
According to WHO, India was one of the worst ranked countries in the world in respect to traffic-related deaths. Why is the state of affairs related to traffic in India so poor? What are the challenges facing us? And what are the solutions? Our agenda is very clear. We at Overdrive and CNBC would like to be the better guys. We would like to reach out and connect with the masses, but the task is enormous. And that brings me to the panel discussion of today on making road safety a mass movement. Joining me in this discussion is an eminent panel of experts, all of who work with the mission of making India's roads safer. I'd like to get into this conversation immediately. Let me start off with Dr. Pasricha. I'd like to put the first question to you. Let me come straight to you. And this has got to do with the Motor Vehicles Act Amendments 2019. What, sir, do you think are the practical challenges the Act faces according to you? And why is there so much opposition from everyone?
In 1951, we had only 3 lakh vehicles in the country. The number is risen to nearly 30 crore. While the infrastructure has not been able to keep a match, in 1951, we had only 3 lakh road length. 4 lakh kilometer, which has been increased only by up to 15 times, around 59 lakh kilometer. While the private vehicles, the personalized cars and two-wheelers have been increasing in leaps and bounds, the public transport has not been able to keep pace. And moreover, we don't have proper effective enforcement. Today, we do not have a law which includes non-motorized vehicles. That is why there's a need for Road Safety Act, which has been pending for the year since the year 2011 in the Parliament. We should include all cyclists, pedestrians, even bullock carts and hand carts and all those things. Unless that is done, it will not work. How will you enforce it?
I'm going to go over, however, now to Piyush Tiwari. You have a year on the ground. What is the general mindset of the public with regards to road safety?
Now, every time we have gone out to the public and spoken about the issue of road safety, what has come up to us is that a large number of people, almost nearly 80%, feel unsafe on the roads. But for an equal number of people, road safety is not top of mind. And one of the biggest reasons behind that is that it is almost considered to be something that had to happen, that must involve human error, and therefore it has occurred. I want to add 2 points here just to nuance what I'm trying to say. There's one aspect of training, which is that you bring people into the system, you train them, and then you filter them through the licensing process, which must weed out people who are untrained and unable to operate these vehicles. And we must remember that a vehicle in the hands of an untrained person is a weapon, and that weapon does and has been killing people. And what we've seen is that the training programs, whatever they exist today, are so incompetent, are so inadequate, that they have only been focused on teaching people how to operate a vehicle, and very little about how do you keep yourself and the others safe. The second aspect is that of behavior change communication. That how do you tell people about why they should do something? Now human beings are intelligent creatures. They require, you can't just do a push philosophy of communication to them, just tell them do this and do that. You have to give them some reasons. When I was growing up, Doordarshan used to have an ad where there's a watermelon lying and a person comes and smashes it with a hammer and the watermelon breaks. And then you have the same watermelon with a helmet on it and the person smashes it with a hammer and the watermelon obviously survives. Now that kind of communication has almost stopped. It's been decades since I've seen that kind of communication on television, that at least in for my generation and perhaps before that, was quite instrumental in getting us to behave in a certain manner.
Just like we are right now handling the coronavirus pandemic, where we have specialized teams of experts who are trying to understand the virus, who are trying to understand how it affects, how does it spread, how do people get affected, how can we ensure that they don't get affected. and finally are trying to come up with a vaccine to eliminate it, the same kind of approach needs to be applied to road safety also. And that is where I think we are significantly failing. Scientific analysis allows you to quantify the problems and identify the low-hanging fruits, which we can immediately tackle to bring down the number of fatalities and serious injuries. So one of the most important things that road safety requires right now is very good national statistics. Just like we have the Arogya Setu for coronavirus, which tells us how many are the number of cases, how many of the active cases are there, and so on. We need to have that kind of systems even built for national statistics on road accidents, which will help people also know what exactly is the current situation today.
So what are the kind of numbers that, Ravi, you are seeing effectively?
We do quote the numbers given by the Transport Research Wing of the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, claiming about 150,000 fatalities. Of course, there are parallel studies going on by various agencies or even WHO looking at autopsy reports and trying to find out how many people would have died. So it's somewhere between 150,000 to 250,000. That's one number that we're getting. We understand that fatalities that are reported, there may be a little under-reporting from the police simply based on definitions. And the problem with the definition is what really is a fatal accident in India? For that matter, what is a road accident in India? Do we have these definitions in place? Does the law address these? These are all areas of vacuum which have still not been addressed. Do we consider a fatal accident as per the WHO definition that a person should have died within 30 days as a result of the accident? Or is it just an IPC section 304A which says that one person was driving in a rash and negligent manner and hit another person who unfortunately died in the accident? So those kind of definitions also we need to go into, and that's why it needs to be a scientific process of trying to understand road accidents, the same way we are trying to apply it on this pandemic.
We've also got Tarun Garg with us, and Tarun comes in with the industry perspective. In the last let's say the last 30 years, what the kind of changes have you seen coming in from consumers to the kind of products that they have been demanding? Is safety big on their radar?
Over my past 25 years, I have seen the consumer behavior change, as far as safety is concerned. At the same time, when I look at the top reasons for sales, unfortunately, safety does not still come in the, say, top 5 or top 10 reasons for the Indian customer. But I think there is something much more to it. It's the millennials who are buying the cars, and it is unfortunately the millennials whose sensitivity about the road safety is the lowest. And we believe very strongly, as far as Hyundai Motor India Foundation is concerned, under the Safe Move campaign, we have tried to, in fact, connect with students at the school level. In fact, more than 300,000 students, across close to 500 schools, or it is in the, RWAs, or in the malls, various ways through which we can really connect to the customers, tell them that, yes, your behavior of safe driving, please wear the seat belt, please don't drink and drive, please don't overspeed, please don't have, your underage children driving, because in India, unfortunately, it is a matter of pride for some people that, look, my child is only 16, but he can drive a car or he can drive a bike. I mean, this is actually a shame, not a matter of pride. While, some of my co-panelists talk about infrastructure, and I agree with them, at the same time, I believe 70% of the road fatal accidents happen because of the mistake of the driver. So which clearly means that they are very, very much preventable as long as we are able to train them, as long as we are able to change their attitude, as long as we are able to really make them sensitive towards not only themselves but towards the others as well.
I'm going to go across to Bob. You've driven all across the country, you've driven millions of kilometers, not just in India, you've driven overseas as well. Have you seen a change in safety on the roads?
The biggest change to me is that, the driving culture. Back then, privileged people owned vehicles. Even the truck drivers who drove vehicles, they took pride in their job. So the quality of driving was, I think, a lot better because there were fewer drivers and they took pride in saying that, oh, I drive. So because there is no pride in the driving, I think the quality of driving has also gone down.
Hyundai presents #BeTheGuy, partnered by Network 18.
Gautam Sen is an Indian journalist, writer, and an automotive design consultant and expert. You have a very intimate knowledge of driving overseas. as well as in India. My question to you is this: between driving in Europe and driving in India, what bothers you the most about driving in India?
India is easily one of the most difficult places, one of the most hair-raising experiences to be able to drive in India. Of course, other than the fact that traffic density and the fact that traffic is absolutely chaotic and that no rules are followed in terms of the way people use their vehicles, whether it's a car, whether it's a two-wheeler, can be extremely bothering and disturbing to anybody who is otherwise used to a certain system. At the time when Dr. Pashrita used to be the traffic commissioner in Bombay, Bombay used to have one of the best traffic management traffic system. And that was because the police were extremely strict with what was being, whatever was being done. I've been fined several times myself for having switched lanes. But I think that was excellent case of implementation. The rules were always there. Rules have always been there in India. And I think what has been the biggest failure in India is the lack of implementation. The difference is in Europe and India is that in Europe you are much more, covering 1,000 kilometers is much less stressing than doing the same distance in India, where not only will it take twice as much time because average speeds are lower, but because you're really stressed out with the fact that the rest of the people out there are unpredictable.
Piyush, you work intimately with people on the ground. Is this something that is a matter of concern? People just don't seem to know much about road usage, safety regulations, and of course road manners.
A majority of drivers on our roads have not been to any formal system of training. Even when we talk about heavy vehicle drivers, truck drivers, they still have a Ustad Khalasi system where a driver trains the cleaner, then cleaner becomes a driver, then he trains the cleaner, and the practices that have been going on for decades just continue down the path. Now, the solution really is that we need to expand the training regime. We need to ensure that it is not merely in the hands of RTOs, but we actually create a sector or an industry out of this. If you look at Singapore and in fact many countries, Japan as well, you have auto companies that actually help the government run such facilities. There is a business model involved there, and they bring the infrastructure, the expertise, the hydraulics, the simulation vehicles, and so on and so forth, and really create world-class facilities for people to learn how to drive. And I think the reason why the problem has not been solved is because we have not relooked at the systems that exist. And what the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act is trying to do is to relook at some of those systems. For example, for the first time, we have a Motor Vehicle Act that is talking specifically about child safety, about adult accountability, child restraint systems, and so on and so forth. For the first time, we are talking about a process for scientific crash investigation. For the first time, we're talking about holding contractors, road contractors, and engineers accountable. So it is relooking at certain systems, but the process has been painfully slow.
Tarun, there are some very valid points that Piyush made, where training was concerned and rather building awareness amongst people. And coming from a manufacturer's perspective, we've got modern cars today are they're extremely sophisticated, but there's a lot of features in them as well, and a lot of safety features that manufacturers are adding on as well. Are people actually aware on the ground of how some of these systems are to be used?
We have made it a mandatory part of when they explain the car to the customer, that it is mandatory for them to explain, in fact, right from the basics, how to actually use a seat belt to, what are the features which maybe a hill assist control or a ESC or like you mentioned, a ABS, how they can help. The problem is there are too many things to be told to the customer, and the attention span of the customer is not that much. So what we have to do is that take one feature at a time and make those short films and really inform the customers, about the advantages of that. That is the second aspect. And the third and the most important aspect which I talked about was really about this, this sensitivity of the whole thing. We are all talking about, of course, law enforcement, and I'm sure all of us at various levels are working with the government to really make sure about the law. But the second thing which I think some of the fellow panelists talked about, that over the past 30 years, we have seen that this sensitivity has actually gone out of the system.
Applying science over here, how important is that to road accident investigation and identifying the right causes behind the accidents?
Right now, what we have is the old British method, pre-independence method of looking at accidents. We are basically calling 5 witnesses and saying, okay, please explain to me how the accident happened. And then finally, the police officer finalizes how this accident would have happened, takes it to court and gets it settled there. But what we are missing out is on the actual details of what really happened. And these sciences have to be applied at the level of the road accident investigator or the police officer in this case. And these sciences are not very difficult. They are basically high school physics. So road accidents are unintentional negligences, you can say, that occur. Please understand that drivers make mistakes. Humans make mistakes and humans are vulnerable. These are 2 important things you need to remember. And you need to build your road and traffic system around them, considering these 2 important problems that humans have. And that's why the science is important.
What would you believe would be a solution to mitigating or reducing road accidents, to making our roads safer in India?
Road safety, the social science being included in the curriculum right from the school time for the KG level, so that by the time the children grow up, that discipline has been injected in their system and they accept it as a good citizen. Every policeman, it should be mandatory to have knowledge of first aid and those kind of things, so that, immediate action can be taken.
So 3 things, I think, just to summarize. Law enforcement, very strict penalties. We have seen during COVID times, all of us behaved, frankly speaking, were made to behave like school children, and actually we behaved. Number 2, of course, awareness and sensitivity, like all my fellow panelists have said, right at the school level, because we have to make sure that when we are growing up, it is from within it comes, it is about pull rather than only push. And third is, I think, again, the training and this licensing system.
I think what we need to do is to bring over a change in attitude. Our biggest problem is our attitude. The fact that we don't care. We don't care about the other person. We don't care about our own children sometimes, because we are taking them helmetless or without any child seat. So this attitude has to change. And to change attitude, of course, there's education, which has to start at a different age. But then there is also an aspect of communication and a sense of consciousness. And I think communication and the fact that you should not be told that you must do this as much as why you must do this, because it's good not just for you but your family and for the rest of the world.
What each of you and what most of the people can start doing is start applying the science of road safety, and it's not very difficult. The first thing you have to do is read up on the Haddon matrix. It was developed by Dr. William Haddon Jr., who was the first administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in USA, and that is how they started off the journey of automotive safety for the whole world. The next thing is applying high school physics to the road accidents that are occurring around us, and also enabling the police and even the courts to understand these.
Just 3 words which I think can end up saving a lot of lives, and it's common sense again. At every road junction, stop, look, and then go. I mean, no one stops at traffic junctions in our country.
At a systemic level, what India needs is a lead agency, a dedicated lead agency like the NHTSA in the US or the European Union Road Safety Group, or like we have in Australia and other countries, a dedicated lead agency with staff, budgets, expertise to look at this issue dedicatedly. And the reason we need that is because this is an issue that spans across multiple sectors, right? We have the custodians of transport, we have custodians of engineering, police enforcement, trauma care, and we need an agency that can bring all of these actors together to operate and work on this issue. The second suggestion I have is to completely overhaul the training mechanism that we currently have for drivers. We need to ensure that there is a comprehensive safety-oriented training for everyone, including two-wheeler drivers and truck drivers who get on the streets, in order to ensure that when they are interacting with each other, there is some level of synchronization and it isn't as arbitrary or dangerous as it is today.
Thank you so much, Piyush. We urge our viewers to continue to spread this and, of course, to take this message forward as well. Stay safe on our roads, stay healthy, live a long life.
Hyundai presents #BeTheBetterGuy, partnered by Network 18. Innovate. Enable.